What's really good, my people? Welcome into Buckets, Action Network's NBA betting podcast. This is the Thursday edition presented by FanDuel. I am your host, Sean Little, kicking it with my guy, as always, Joe Delara. We only have one game on the slate tonight. The Dallas Mavericks head to Detroit to take on the Pistons. JD, what's going on, baby?
Dude, it's gonna be real tough to not have like nine best bets for this game. So, but I'm
Yeah,
pretty
this is a
stoked for it. It should be an interesting game at least, man. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm looking forward to, breaking the one game. Hey, it simplifies things, shrinks things down. We don't have so much to look at. We actually were just talking off air about how much we like the board coming into tonight. We got a couple bets. They're looking pretty solid. We know JD cashed the Nets already. I was actually just at Madison Square Garden across the street watching the Knicks and the Bucks. And Giannis, if you had the Bucks -6 or -5.5, make sure you salute RJ Barrett when you get a chance. He had a late foul that was pretty unnecessary. So he hooked you up with a little bit of a push there. Unless you had 5.5 where it was hanging around at some point during the day. So you might have got lucky and got a cash as well. But let's jump into it. The Luka Mavericks are going to
Dude.
Detroit to take on the Detroit Pistons. Let's give me your best bet first, Joe. I'll give mine, and then we'll jump into a little breakdown.
All right. So I really like the Mavs -7. I think that they are by far the superior team, especially when you really look at this and Jaden Ivey's popped on the injury report too, and he's listed as questionable. So I really like the Mavericks in this spot. I know that they have some bad like home road splits. They've been like atrocious, honestly, on the road. They're 1-7 straight up on the road this season, which is kind of mind-boggling in terms of the numbers. But I just think that this is a great spot for them against this like really like inexperienced Detroit team. And I think that this is a good angle. And I think that the 7 is just too short. It opened at a 6.5. I think that we're seeing some 7.5s actually at some books. I'll take the 7 for sure. So I like the Mavs -7. I'll lay those points on the road.
I'm gonna go over 222 at FanDuel right now, -110. Now, as JD just laid out, the Mavs have not been playing very well on the road, but this is a team that may be feeling pretty good coming off that win against Golden State. They were grinding it out at home, ended up getting the W. Luka put up a 40-point triple double without breaking a sweat, essentially. He is absolutely ridiculous right now. He's locked in, but we'll get into breaking down the game here in a second. But I'm going to go over 222 at FanDuel -110. JD's going to lay the 7 with the Mavs in Detroit. All right, let me give you a few points here on the Mavericks. I'll give a few points on the Pistons, and then we could jump into it. Right now, Mavericks 5-14-1 against the spread this year. They rank fifth in the NBA, sinking almost 14 threes a game, 13.6. So they have nobody on the injury list right now. They look pretty clean there. Everybody's ready to go. Talking about the Pistons, 12-11 ATS this year. 14 of 23 games going over the total. That's at 60%. Detroit's a 26 squad in the NBA at 109.1 points per game and give up the third most at 117.7. So they don't score. They give up a ton of points. And we know how Dallas gets down. They slow the game down. They want to grind it out with Luka holding the rock. And then they want to play defense. That's been their MO for quite a while now. And we can add, and me and JD are actually probably going to have a little bit of a discussion on, is that working? What are we going to do here with the roster of the Mavs, and do they need to change something going forward to get that to avoid the questions of Luka coming of what are we going to do here with this squad, and what we're doing now isn't working. Christian Wood, Dinwiddie, is that enough to get over the top? So we'll get into that. But back to the
We'll see.
Pistons. Yeah, back to the TBD, right?
We'll
Stay
see,
tuned.
man.
Detroit is the 26th squad in the NBA. They don't score. Oh, yeah, I just laid that out. Fifth worst in the NBA in three-point baskets made per game at 10.7. Injury report does have a few people on it. Nerlens Noel questionable with a knee. Jaden Ivey questionable with a knee, and then Cade Cunningham is out with a shin. JD, talk to me about Mavs -7. I know we're boxed in here a little bit because we only have one game on the slate, but tell me why you're looking at Mavs -7 and why you like it.
Dude, I think that this is really just one of those spots where we're looking at a Detroit team that I think that they are a team that's like fully primed to tank. Their best player in Cade Cunningham is, I think they're kind of pushing a little bit of surgical options for him. I would be surprised to see if they push Jaden Ivey in this spot. Like I don't see there like what's the point? What is the reason there? But I just don't think that this is a great spot. And if people are looking at the trends, they're gonna look at this and be like, the Mavs stink on the road. But this is one of those spots where if you really look at this in terms of like adjusted net rating, which is something that I love to look at, and I know Matt talks about it a lot on some of the other episodes, like you guys talk about it a lot as well. But the Mavericks are seventh in adjusted net rating at plus 2.3. They have a top 9 defense, 15th in offense. But when you look at Detroit, they're 29th. They're -7. They have the second worst defense in the league, and they have a bottom 6 offense in the league. So this is just not a team that I can trust when they don't even have their primary offensive options really in Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey. And I think that this is a prime spot for the Mavericks to kind of not necessarily make a statement on the road, but to try to maybe get some of that moxie back on the road, and it doesn't feel like, all right, like we're leaving Dallas, like we're catching an L. So I like the spot, and actually a prop that I was looking at is Luka. He's got his prop line has been pretty high all season, but in this game it's at over 30.5. And the reason I like this is I really think that this is a game that the Mavericks win. So when I filtered what Luka's done in Mavs wins, he's actually gone over this line in all 10 of their wins this season, and he's averaging 37.2 points a game in those wins. So you can actually parlay if you want to be a little bit safer, plus you get that like even number, you can get 30 plus, and the win, you're getting plus 108 at FanDuel, which I think is good because you can get that in the money line. It's like, who says no? Who says no? Like, like
Yeah.
how are we ruining this?
Yeah. Who says no to Luka going for 30 and the Mavs going on the road and getting a W? It might be one of those spots where it's like a get right spot for the Mavs
Yeah.
on the road. They've been struggling. They're now coming off a big win on national television. Matt was talking about Luka on national television. Might be spots to look at. If he's playing on
Fair.
TNT again in a big time matchup, 35 to 40 seems like it's easy for him to go get. And he
Oh
likes
yeah.
to go get them and enjoys it. He was talking to the guys on TNT before the game. Barkley, Shaq, Ernie, the Jet, we know him. They interviewed him before the game. He was super loose, ready to go. But these primetime spots for Luka, he seems to show up. I was talking to John Henson about the Madison Square Garden bump. Like guys go in there and
Yeah.
the bump is real, right? They try to go in there and put it on the Knicks in front of the New York crowd and on the
It's just
Madison Square
sad.
Garden stage. Yeah, and similar to Luka on national TV. I don't have the splits, but something to keep an eye on when it's him on national TV, TNT doubleheader, ESPN Friday night type of spot. He seems to show up, and they know they've been playing bad on the road, so they're going to go to
Oh yeah.
Detroit and try to get
Oh yeah.
try to get right. And we just saw what the Knicks did down in Detroit as well. Just ran those boys off the floor. They're actually 3-0 against the Pistons this year, and that's a big chunk of their
We
wins.
love it. We
Yeah,
love it.
but that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah,
But
yeah. We could talk about that forever.
yeah, no. I -7, Luka to get 30, and the Dallas Mavericks should get the win at, you said plus 108?
Yeah, plus 108 for Mavs money line and Luka 30 plus. And like if you wanted to get a little crazier and you wanted to do the if you wanted to do the spread and Luka to get 30 plus, you're looking at plus 175. So if you want to get like a little bit of a bigger number, that's another way to do it.
Yeah.
I'd prefer to just do the win, I think, in the 30 plus. I think it's just a better, like they're very correlated outcomes, in my opinion. Like Luka, he scores well, but when you're seeing in all 10 games, he's gone 30 plus, or at least all 10 Mavs wins, like that to me is showing there's a significant correlation between Luka scoring the basketball and the Mavericks winning the ball game.
Yeah, I mean that's literally the whole franchise is built on that. They're
Exactly.
built the Dallas Mavericks are built on Luka scoring 30 and hoping that's enough to get the W. Like
Yeah.
that's what the entire franchise is built off of. So yeah, I'm not mad at that. If you're a little squeamish on laying the 7 at -110, tying Luka to get a 30 piece and those guys to win is tough. I'm looking
Yeah.
at over, or it's not tough. That's going to be the play because that's how the Mavericks get W's.
They do.
I'm looking at over 222. It's going to be an interesting spot because just like we talked about, the Dallas Mavericks haven't been successful, haven't really done too much on the road. And then we were worried about Bogdanovich not playing against the Knicks, and he did end up playing. And now it looks like Jaden Ivey can come back. In
Yeah.
that game, in the last game for the Pistons, they only put up 110, but they got a lot of scoring from different spots. We got Corey Joseph had 11, Sadiq Bey had 11, Isaiah Stewart had 19, Bogdanovich had 13, Bagley had 13, Killian Hayes had 11. I mean, they at least moved the ball around a little bit, and a couple people got involved in that. Now, if they can get Jaden Ivey back into that rotation, I like them to score 115 at home. I don't see that being out of the realm of possibility. I
Yeah.
know Dallas is very tough, but this is Dallas has struggled on the road. The Pistons could show up here at home now for a couple days after the second game back at home, have an extra day of rest, can get in there and compete a little bit. The reason I like over 22 is because there's a potential spot. They're telling you with the number being 7, this could be a potential spot where it's competitive for a good chunk of the game. That's going to run the total up, and
Yep.
there's also a possibility where the Mavericks can do exactly what the New York Knicks just did the other night, scoring 140. I could see the Mavs coming in there scoring 125, 110, and then we're covering the 7 and we're going over the total of 222. So it's a situation where the Pistons have a little bit of heart. If you watch them,
Oh yeah.
they're not laying down and getting run out of the building. Well, they are, but they are. It's not. It's more of like a. How do I say this? It's more of a.
I feel like
It's
it's more
more.
like a talent thing. Like
Yeah.
they're not as good, but like the guys aren't quitting. Like
Right.
they're not despondent. Like they're trying out there. It's just like they're they're trying a lot, but they need like there's only so much they can do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think if we get boxed into one game, I'm definitely not taking the Pistons at +7 here.
You
With
don't need to tell me you're not taking the Pistons
Yeah,
at any
yeah, yeah,
number.
yeah, 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 exactly. I'm not taking the Pistons here right at +7. I'm never going to get on that train. And you know, it could be a good spot where they take care of business. The Dallas Mavericks coming off a big win, and they keep rolling and compound that success they found on national TV against those guys. I think either way, if the Mavericks show up in a major way, that pushes it over. They score 120, 122, 123. That'll push it over. And then if it's competitive, potentially like the line is telling you at 6.5, it opened and then goes to 7. We could still go over here, and especially that'll help with Jaden Ivey. I would wait. We're recording this Wednesday night at 11 o'clock. I would wait to see if Jaden Ivey is going to play in this spot. I think that helps the over as well.
Yeah.
And take a look if anybody happens to pop up on Dallas as well. You know how that goes.
Oh
So
yeah.
let's
Just
talk
a
about yeah.
sneaky
There's
out. Yeah.
we've seen some crazy things pop up. No question. Talk to me about your opinion of the Dallas Mavericks because coming into the year, you know, Luka's the MVP favorite. He's still the MVP favorite. He's been playing really well, but he's been playing really well. The Mavericks haven't been playing all that great on the road. They haven't been playing that well. We just talked about that. There's questions about Dinwiddie, Luka, and Christian Wood on the floor at the same time.
Yeah.
That isn't working, but Luka and Christian Wood is working. There's a few different combos on the offensive rating standpoint that have and have not been working for the Mavericks. How do you feel about the roster construction? How do you feel about them for the rest of the year here in the West? Talk to me about the Mavs.
I mean, I think that you got to move Christian Wood into that starting lineup. Like, you got to see more minutes with Luka and Wood. I think the problem is that they're really trying to use Dinwiddie in like the Brunson role, and they're just not the same player. Like, we see Brunson in New York, like, dude's a dog. He's willing to like body you. Like, he will fight. Like,
He's just a
Dinwiddie's like,
really, you know what? Like at the end of the day, Jalen Brunson is just a really good basketball player.
he's great.
Just
Yeah.
plays
Like,
basketball the right way. He
yeah.
knows what to do on every spot. He knows when he has to get to the basket. He's a little guy. He knows how to use the glass insanely well.
Oh, yeah.
You almost rarely, I couldn't tell you how many times I've seen Jalen get to the basket. And the first thing I think of is this is getting put off the backboard.
Yeah.
And
Every,
no
like,
one,
I don't even understand how.
yeah, and no one can ever get to it.
No, he
People
did it to
go up and try to
Giannis. He
block.
did
Yeah,
it
he
to
did it to
Giannis a couple
Giannis
times.
earlier
Yeah.
today. Yeah, exactly. Went way up off the glass and dropped it in. He's just a really good basketball player, really good decision
He's
maker, and he
excellent.
just knows
Yeah.
what he's doing when he's running the point guard position. I didn't mean to cut you off, but
No,
I,
no,
I
no, you're
wanted you to
good. You're
get that
good.
in.
But like, the one thing that I was thinking about with this team is like he's under contract for so long, but like they were talking about how I think it was like Dwight Powell, Dorian Finney-Smith, and like Reggie Bullock, or like Tim Hardaway Jr. They were shooting like a collective 25% or something on threes on passes from Luka. And it's like Luka's not setting these guys up, right? I was like, are you out of your mind? Like, Luka is by far the best player on the team. He's the only reason that you have a chance in these games. Like, these guys need to make their shots. So like, it's giving me, I'm not saying that Luka's LeBron, but it's giving me LeBron and Cleveland vibes right now. And I'm like, is like how long can you deal with this? Like, they keep bringing in guys like Christian Wood or Zingis, like whatever. And it's like, oh, this guy's gonna pair, this guy's gonna pair, and it's like they all seem to be like half measures, and like they're not really like supporting him with a guy that like he needs. And like, maybe Brunson was the guy that would have been actually really helpful, and they just couldn't keep him because he had his heart in New York and his dad. But
Well,
like,
he just wanted to be the guy,
yeah,
and he
like
was never going to be like the guy
you
with
couldn't.
Luka. Yeah, you couldn't.
You couldn't. So like, it's hard, but I do wonder if he's gonna be like, all right, yeah, like I want out, like I want to go somewhere else. So I think that maybe they can figure it out, but I think it's definitely starts with Christian Wood being in the starting lineup.
I mean, and let's be serious here. This is every star. It was starting to creep up to Giannis's point where it's going to be like, yo, is this guy getting out of here or not?
Yeah,
Couple things fall his way, and he had a window to get to the finals and win the finals, and
seized it.
he seized it. He did his thing. We know how he closed it out. 50-point closeout game in the finals. He got it done. But I'm going to tell you, if couple more, not even, I think one more offseason of not getting a ring,
One,
it was like, so this isn't working. Middleton can't get it done.
yeah,
My guy J. Rue, Drew Holiday,
love
that
him.
wasn't enough, but I
Yeah,
love him. Yeah, but like it was starting to get to that space, right? And it's going to start to get to that space with Luka sooner rather than later.
100%.
I,
And
I
like,
almost
I'm just nervous. Like, I think it's tough because I think Luka is transcendent in terms of his talent. So it's just like what he can do with like not really speed. Like, he's not a turbo button guy. Like, he's a finesse guy, and it's awesome. Like,
yeah,
so it's fun.
a powerful finesse guy. You know
Exactly.
when I fell in love with Luka? I'll go back. Well, I mean, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't really love him coming into the league. I'm like, I don't know about this
Okay.
like slow herky jerky shit. Like, this is the NBA. Like, I don't know if this is gonna work. And of course, he comes in guns blazing. As soon as he gets into the league, he does his thing. But it was against the Clippers in the playoffs, and he had Kawhi Leonard down on the block a few times.
Yeah.
And he flat out moved Kawhi Leonard out of the way multiple times, backed him
Yep.
down, moved Kawhi out of the way, and was finishing. And he was screaming in his face. And I'm like, wait a
Like,
second.
who
Like,
is this guy?
first of all, well, at that point we knew who he was, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
like
yeah.
I'd never seen anyone move Kawhi out of the way like that. Like,
Yeah.
no one backed down Kawhi and just moved him out of the way and finished and then
Yeah.
screamed. And he was doing it every possession. And it was like, nah, this dude is different. Like, this is a different
Yeah.
type of dude. So I'm interested to see how it goes because I think him and Jason Kidd have a good relationship. So that's a
Hmm.
good start. I think that is a positive thing. he got out of that Carlisle situation.
Yeah.
But I'm interested to see what they do because honestly, there's days where I look at them play and Luka and that construction, and I'm like, who is the guy that would pair? Like, who would pair really well with this dude?
Yeah, and I don't necessarily know if I know. Like, it's funny. Like the one guy that I was kind of thinking like might work because he just doesn't need the ball is like a guy like Rudy Gobert. Like
Yeah,
honestly, because it's like he just doesn't need the ball,
yeah.
and like you're gonna have a top 10
He's used to
defense.
nobody throwing it to him too, so he's just fucking running
Yeah, and
around and
like
he'll
and
get
like he'll
shit
get
here.
some assists. Like Luka will give him a couple of lobs here and there. Like he lets
Yeah,
Dinwiddie do his thing for like 5 minutes every game. So
yeah.
like, like let Gobert cook.
Yeah, and
Uh,
it's tough to talk about a squad that just went to the Western Conference Finals like this, but you could just tell, man. It's just like if they aren't shooting lights out,
that's yeah.
they're in trouble. And you can kind of see that in spells here right now with them. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like you're trying to get ahead of it because you don't want the whispers from Luka and his team to come up like, yo, man, let's get out of here and go
Yeah.
start
Let's pack it
fresh
in.
and yeah, and go get with some big time guys. Because I think at the end of the day, he would give the ball up a little bit more if he felt like who he was giving it up to
Oh yeah.
was a
100%.
viable option.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Not THJ.
Yeah, exactly. Like, hey, I love Reggie Bullock too, but you get what I'm saying.
They're just like the Knicks West out there. So
Exactly right. All right, that's gonna do it for the Thursday edition of Buckets Action Network's NBA podcast. We got boxed in, guys. We only had one game to break down, so we talked about it. We'll see what Luka can do down in Detroit. Shout out my guy, Joe Delara. Make sure you go check out his weekly props preview article. Comes out on Mondays. It's an absolutely phenomenal read. Make sure you guys go check that out. Thank you to all our people at FanDuel for holding us down here at the Action Network. Let's get buckets. We'll see you guys later.